Okay, yesterday we left off by the din of what's called Kiddush b'makom su'uda. When you make Kiddush, it has to be in the place where you're actually eating. Now, it doesn't mean you're eating the meal. It means you have to eat something that's halachically called a meal. So either you need to drink another whole revius of wine or grape juice. Nothing else is going to help. Let's say even if you make Kiddush Hamashke, you still, for the Makom Suda, you can't drink another cup of whiskey, of liquor. You have to drink wine or grape juice. Or you have to eat a kazayas of cake, or something which is mezainis. Or you wash and have the meal for bread. I mean, those are the various different options that somebody has. But not only that, the Kiddush has to be in the same room where you're eating. What happens if you're planning to eat in a different room? So it only works two things. Number one, you have to have it in mind when you make Kiddush, that you're going to be eating in a different room. And secondly, you have to be able to see the place that you're going to be eating at. So for instance, if somebody makes Kiddush up here and they plan to eat downstairs, but you can't see downstairs from up here, so then it's not valid because it's a different room. So it has to be two things. Number one, it has to be that you see the place and you had in mind at the time you're making Kiddush. But if you're planning to go to a different house, let's say, even if you have in mind, even if you could see the place, let's say you see the house next door and you're going to make Kiddush here, you have in mind you're going to eat the meal next door, it's no good.
But if you, let's say you wash over there, you can continue eating in the other place if you had it in mind. No?
Yeah, if you washed in one place, you had in mind that you're going to continue eating the meal. That's what they do a lot of times. By Sheva Brachos, they do that, they have in mind. But another very important din is that the eating has to be right after Kiddush. Now, we were talking yesterday, it doesn't say actually in Halacha how long it takes. But Al Rebbe does say what happens if somebody, when they're making Kiddush, they have in mind they're going to eat right away. And then something unforeseen came up. And it's going to take time. So then, if it's not very long, again, that question is how long, the Kiddush is still valid. What happens if somebody made Kiddush and they had in mind they're going to be eating in a different house? So really they're not good. But then they changed it and they ate right where they made Kiddush, then it's good. We said this is a very important din, practically speaking, when you have a Kiddush in Shul and you're being engaged to Kiddush in Shul, you have to make sure to eat a kazayas of cake. Because all the other herring and pickles and cholent and all that is not the mezainis. So the fact that you eat a lot of it doesn't mean anything. You have to eat at least either another cup of wine or grape juice, or kazayas of bread, or kazayas of, or mezainis, whatever it takes. You have to eat the kazayas to get the achilas pras. It doesn't say anywhere the shir of achilas pras. It doesn't say that. The Alter Rebbe says it has to be la'alter. Now, what does la'alter mean immediately? Now, what does la'alter mean? In different dinim, it means different things. Certain things you're allowed to do in Shabbos right before eating. And Alter Rebbe says over there, la'alter means after you walk out of shul. In other words, let's say you want to make an egg salad, certain things that you could only make right before you want to eat it on Shabbos. I mean, you can't make it Friday night for Shabbos day, or Shabbos morning for Shabbos day. But he says you can make it, over there the Alter Rebbe says you can make it after shul, even though the meal's going to take 2 hours and you're going to eat it at the end of the meal. But that's called la'alter because same meal. But here there's no shear of 2 hours. Okay.
No, but when you're eating the mezonot, you have to have a few kazai. You can start eating right away, but not necessarily you have to finish it like in 10 minutes.
No, the kazayis has to be eaten k'derech pras. So you do have to eat it, otherwise it's not called eating, therefore you wouldn't be able to make a bracha on it. Okay, now, somebody is allowed to make Kiddush for somebody else, like we learned in any case. Now, there's a very different, like many other things, we discussed this in the many different dinim, there's a fundamental difference in a Sephardic custom and Ashkenazi custom. Like, for instance, is it better for everybody to make their own Kiddush? Or should one make it for everybody? Now, each one has an advantage and a disadvantage. The advantage of doing one for everybody, so then you have what's called Reivam Hadras Melech. A lot of people are doing a mitzvah together, so that it glorifies the king. From the other side, there's an advantage of doing it by yourself, rather than just listening to somebody else. So by Sfardim, generally, the custom is one person, the head of the household, does everything for everything. By Pesach, Seder, we learn to Mayab, but different places. In most Ashkenazi communities, unless people don't like to drink wine, the custom is they try to make their own Kiddush if possible. Now, a person who's making Kiddush, a person who's listening to Kiddush, is not allowed to talk during the bracha because you have to hear it. Not only that, you're not allowed to talk until the person finishes drinking. The one that makes Kiddush, he's making Kiddush for everybody. So you have to, nobody's allowed to talk until the one reciting Kiddush for everybody actually drinks the amount of wine that he needs to drink, because that's part of the Kiddush process. So you shouldn't do it. What happens if somebody came to shul, they made Kiddush, they had a chont, whatever, and then the wife didn't come to shul, so they're allowed to go home and make Kiddush for the wife. Not only Shabbos day, where it's basically just a bracha b'rei pri hagafen, but even Friday night. Let's say somebody was somewhere Friday night, and they made Kiddush or whatever it was, and then they're going home to make Kiddush, so they're allowed to make Kiddush for the wife, even though they were already Yetze Kiddush, because again, all Jews are responsible one for another. What?
How about if they're not Jews?
Then they should make Kiddush 3 times. Okay?
Which part of when you Kiddush during the day, when you're doing again for somebody else? When you can start
you can say Al-Kem Beirach, or you can just make the bracha b'rei pri hagafen.
You just make the bracha b'rei pri hagafen? You don't have to say anything else before?
The Kiddush during the day is b'rei pri hagafen.
You don't have to say any of the whole...
To be Yetze Kiddush?
No, for the...
Let me ask you a question. If somebody doesn't say Shalom Aleichem Eshes Chayil, Friday night, yeah? It's not in the mood, yeah? He doesn't say Yom HaShishi. He starts Kiddush, Savir Manam Baruch Hashem Elokeinu b'rei pri hagafen, and the last part. He's Yetze Kiddush or not?
Yeah, because the last part he's also mentioning Shabbos, is he not?
So here
He's not mentioning Shabbos, say b'rei pri hagafen in the morning.
the Kiddush is the bracha.
If you just said b'rei pri hagafen...
Because there's no need to mention Shabbos during the day. Why? Let me explain it now. We're jumping the gun a little bit, but you brought it up. It's interesting, the Kiddush during the day is called in a Sadeh L'Sudasa, you say, Big Kiddush Rabbah, the big Kiddush. Kiddush Rabbah means a big Kiddush. So simply, why do you call it big Kiddush? Because all it is b'rei pri hagafen. It's like...
it's only one.
It's only b'rei pri hagafen. Now, the din is like this. Why do we make Kiddush during the day? The mitzvah of sanctifying Shabbos, how do you sanctify a day? How do you make this day different than the rest of the week? When it starts, you sanctify it, and when it ends, you sanctify it. Beginning and end is what makes the day special. There's no reason to make Kiddush, technically, during the day. That's why the whole Kiddush during the day is only b'rei pri hagafen. There's no bracha. Friday night you have a bracha. Havdalah you have a bracha. In the middle of the day there's no bracha. You just make bracha. Okay, you say the psukim, it's very nice, but you make a bracha b'rei pri hagafen. Why is that? So the reason why we have Kiddush during the day, and that's why it's only b'rei pri hagafen, because halachically the day meal is more important than the night meal. Somebody has some good food. Should they eat it Friday night or Shabbos day? So the din is, Shabbos day meal is more important than the Friday night meal. So therefore it says like this in Chazal. Friday night meal, which is less important than the day meal. You make Kiddush. So day meal, you're not going to make Kiddush. So the Chacham instituted you make Kiddush. What's the Kiddush? You don't have to mention Shabbos. Because you mention Shabbos Friday night, you're going to mention Shabbos when Shabbos ends, and then you have the davenings. Why do you make Kiddush? Because that's the main meal. It doesn't look right for the main meal. You don't make Kiddush when the lesson meal Friday night. That's why there's no Kiddush B'Shal Shudas either. Lechem Mishnah, interestingly, if somebody is washing 5 times on Shabbos, whatever, just, they need Lechem Mishnah, 2 chalas, every time they wash. You don't have to make Kiddush if you eat 10 times on Shabbos. But Lechem Mishnah, the Alter Rebbe says, and this is Shchunoch says, every meal that you're washing on Shabbos needs Lechem Mishnah. Kiddush is not. Kiddush is when Shabbos begins, when Shabbos ends. Chacham said, because this meal is the most important meal, so it's not right that you don't do something over a cup of wine. So the main thing is the Be'er Govins. There's nothing else of the Kiddush, even if you don't mention Shabbos.
Theoretically, you can speak the whole time, and as soon as the person reaches Savim Aramnan or Baruch Atah Hashem, and you heard that, you need to.
Yeah. All you do is have to hear Be'er Govin. That's the Kiddush of day. There's no sanctification of Shabbos that you need to say Shabbos.